tried to take it off just a little bit of a different way. Wanted to see what that was like, but definitely more of a two-person job that way. Luckily, some guys from the South African team were here to help. Welcome to Lake Piediluco, where we're going to be racing and training this week. And that's us finished 2 sessions out here on Lake Piediluco for today. First session, nice and steady. Second session, nice and steady. In the first session, I just found it really funny. I was going at the start line, round about the start, so you have to go round, loop around a 2K course. Was at the start line and was paddling with a couple of people in their singles, and they were just faster than me, and I was trying my best, trying my hardest to stick to my training zones, to my training plan, my training session, rather than trying to stick with those people in their singles, because little do I know, they could be doing a hard piece. They could just generally be faster than me when paddling, and so if I went with them, I would create a completely different training session than I was originally planning. So stuck to my training session and just did an easy, steady session for the first session, and then second session, I think there may be some sort of siesta going on here, but it's not too warm. Don't know if that even relates to siesting, but the water, I had it completely to myself for the second session. So what an amazing opportunity, not only just to get on a lake that I've never rode in a completely different country than I was in a few days ago, but also just to have that lake completely to myself. So for now, it's time to fuel up, because remember, food is fuel, especially after training, regardless of intensity. And then I need to find some data for my phone, get a new SIM card so I can continue uploading videos, continue the vlogs for the yamsquad, and then chilling out for the rest of the day. And we're going to head into tomorrow for a little bit of a higher intensity, still on the lower volume, especially versus the last biggest training week ever, and just sort of sharpening a little bit for the race come this weekend. Oh yeah. Going to be doing a little bit of exploring on the water today, coming off the course a little bit and following the river off of the lake. A little bit of an adventure within the bigger adventure in the first session, and then second session we're going to do some pieces, a little bit sharper work to round off the day. So let's get the Lamborghini name yet to be determined on the water on this lovely morning.
And we've got another absolutely beautiful afternoon for the second session today. And again, everyone seems to have disappeared. Pretty sure I'm allowed on the water. So let's get onto it in the Lamborghini name yet to be determined, in prime location here at Lake Piediluco for some pieces. Oh yeah.
So it makes a little bit more sense why no one's on the water today. I know it may not look it up at the start here, but for about the last 500 down that end is pretty bumpy, pretty choppy, but the wind is supposed to be worse come race day, so I saw the water. Why not get out in it and get some practice in it? So that's what we're here to do. We've got some 500s to do. We're going to warm up and then do a couple in each direction and see how we get on. Should be pretty tough. I've got a few days till race time, so shouldn't be worried about fatigue or anything like that. This is again just a little bit of sharpening up, getting the legs ready, getting used to the conditions here as well as the scenery as well. So warm up time. And we've made it off the water. As you can hopefully tell, the water has picked up, the wind has picked up as well. I just checked the forecast for right now. It says this is 5 miles an hour wind. I don't think this be 5 miles an hour. The forecast for the racing this weekend is about 10 to 15, maybe a little bit more miles an hour. So if this is 5, and I'm not really sure what 10 to 15 miles an hour is going to look like, but the pieces, the outing there was quite good to get out in conditions like that, because remember, rowing is a rowing sport and we have to be able to row in the conditions that are given on race day. The speeds were good, just trying to get used to, like over the last couple of weeks we've had great opportunities to row on really flat water, and so it's been a while since I've actually rowed on anything but flat water. So it's good to get out there, especially if the water's not going to be flat for racing at the weekend. So now, time to fuel up, because remember, food is fuel, chill out for the rest of the day, and we've still got 2 days of sort of training before racing, so now it's time to sort of come down a little bit, drop the volume, drop the intensity, but still keep sharp. We'll see you tomorrow. And Yam and I have made it outside for the morning walk. Look at the scenery this morning. Hopefully we can get on the water on the Lamborghini name yet to be determined and enjoy this flat glass this morning. Today, 2 days before racing, a little bit of a shorter session. Again, dropping the volume, keeping the intensity somewhat high, and just keeping the legs fresh but also sharp, if that makes sense. So let's get onto the water. And we've made it to the start line here once again this morning. Lovely morning, not as glass flat as earlier, but we've got some company to paddle with this morning. Again, sticking to our training plans, not going too hard, but not going too light either. Just enjoying ourselves on this lovely morning. Now time to finish off this. And the Lamborghini name yet to be determined has made it off the water, strapped down to its rack, just off of the dock in its prime position. The training session itself this morning, a shorter one with about a 250 metre piece, some bursts and some starts. The idea with all three of those is to make them feel like they do in a race. Not necessarily the effort wise, obviously in a race you're going to be probably much more fatigued, but you want it to feel like the technique is similar to the race. The intensity for that short period of time is similar to it is in a race. Like for example, 250 metres off the start in itself at race pace should feel relatively easy, not flat out, because say for example in a race, yes, your first 250 is going to be pretty hard, but if you did a flat out 250 metres on a race, you're not going to do much for the next 1750. So 250 race pace, not flat out, and then the bursts and the starts, same thing, making them feel like they do in a race. So for me, the starts, trying to make them powerful but not too tense and grabby, and exact same thing in the bursts, making sure I'm getting up to rate, getting up to pace, and making it feel hard but not too tense and too grabby, if that makes sense. And as always, a pleasure to be able to get out there and paddle with, not just by myself, paddle with someone else, because remember, when you're out there training, regardless if you're on the rowing machine, when you're on the water, when you're on a bike, whatever kind of training you do, if you're doing it with someone else, it can be that much more enjoyable. But as always, when you're training with different people, especially people outside of your sort of training group, it's very important to stick to your training sessions. Today, we're all doing steady state kind of thing anyway. The guys were doing a longer piece, so I was not doing that, but the steady state part of the session, we could easily do together. So really enjoyable session out there this morning. Water stayed nice and flat, and we'll just keep our fingers crossed for the weather over the next few days. Now, it's a time of relaxation, trying not to spend too much energy, or much energy at all, but also trying not to just sit and do nothing and becoming stale. Now it's relaxing, fueling up, because remember food is fuel, and just keeping my legs active but not tired. So now it's time for relaxation. And we've made it into the ambulance after a lovely relaxing afternoon, after a good session this morning. The weather unfortunately has taken quite a bit of a turn, started to rain and has cooled down significantly. We'll see how the weather goes over the next few days. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the wind stays down, but as always, rowing is a rowing sport and we have to deal with the conditions that happen to be there out there on the day, especially on race day. A big development during the relaxing afternoon, the entries are now out for the racing this weekend. Basically, the biggest reason I came to race here at Piediluco was the idea that there would be a really high standard of racing, and the entries confirm that there will be a very high standard of racing. So one of the entries, you may know who it is, but they may have won the Olympics last year, perhaps. And there's a bunch of other people as well that are really high caliber athletes. So it's going to be an interesting one this weekend. I just want to go out there and be competitive and have a good race for myself, similar to sort of the training. Racing, yes, you can race the person next to you, but you go out and race your race plan and race your race, and then see how where that puts you. So now it's time to relax some more, fuel up obviously, because remember food is fuel, and then we're going to have another short session tomorrow, and it's almost race day. The excitement is building, everyone's appearing. Some teams aren't even here yet, but the boat racks are filling up, and as well the TV crews are coming, so it should be on television, but I'm not really sure the channels here in Italy, but that'll be pretty cool too. So I'll see you tomorrow. And we've made it to the next day, the day before racing. Lovely weather this morning. The weather seems to have perked up a little bit. Hopefully it stays that way for racing. The training today is similar to the last couple of days, not putting too much fatigue in the legs, but getting that sharpness and readiness into the legs. There's nothing you can really do to improve your fitness this soon before racing. Just having confidence in the training that you've done previously, that it will get you through the racing you've got coming up. So now, time to get into the Lamborghini name yet to be determined, and onto this water. And everyone's now arrived. The queues, the traffic to get on the water has now increased. So let's get on there. And that's us off the water. Busy, choppy, but probably going to be like that tomorrow, if not worse. It's time for some arts and crafts. You may have noticed over the past few days I've been training with these white blades here at Piediluco versus the navy blue blades that I've been using over the past year. These, in fact, are the exact same blades. I've just taken the navy blue vinyl off because I'm changing the design that was representing the Strathclyde Park Rowing Club to representing the Edinburgh University Boat Club that I'll be racing under here at Piediluco. So the design is going to be black on one side and then this light blue on the other side, and then opposite colour triangles about here on both sides. So it's a lovely little arts and crafts project this afternoon. An easy way to distract myself as we build up to racing, but it's going to be an interesting one because for these blades it can be quite difficult because there's quite a sharp angle, and obviously with doing vinyl with the nooks and crannies as well coming down to the shaft of the blade can be a difficult one with vinyl, but the vinyl itself gives like a good layer of protection, and it means, like I said, with taking the navy blue off and then putting this one on, it's going to be a really easy way to sort of change the design or change the colours of the blades themselves without repainting, sanding and all of that stuff. So let's see how we get on with redoing these blades. So it's proving quite difficult. First piece done. Part 2. And we have managed to do one side of one blade all black. Not as smooth as Tom was able to do it. I had to go 1 part, 2 part, 3 part, and then fill in little gaps there. Let me know in the comments below if you recommend doing it a different way. Maybe I'm missing something, but from afar, I think it looks alright. Step 1, blue side, blade 1. Part 2 done of the blue side on blade 1. And in between some blades, arts and crafts, we've got the fuel up because remember food is fuel, and honestly the first blade took me a long time, so I have to fuel up so I can make it through the second one. But while we're waiting on the food to be ready, I'm going to go over a few of the countries that are in the men's single scull this weekend. In the first regatta, so the regatta itself, the whole thing, is almost 2 regattas. Friday is going to be the heats for a Saturday morning final, then Saturday afternoon heats for a Sunday afternoon final. So there's a lot more singles entered in the first regatta, the Friday, Saturday. We've got Belgian crews, myself, I'll be under GBRC. We've got Greece, already mentioned, that's the Olympic champ. Israel, bunch of Italian crews. This is the, I'm not sure if it's the Italian training centre, but it's definitely a place where the Italians row quite often. We've got South Africa, Lithuania, Romania, Serbia, Zimbabwe, bunch of different countries, a bunch of international talent. So it's going to be really interesting to obviously race, and that's the idea of coming here in the first place, was to be able to get really high standard of racing, international racing at that. But regardless of who I'm going to be racing against, it's going to be really, really tough racing, and that's really why we came all the way out here, to get some good racing. So now, fueling up, and then back to Blade Arts and Crafts.
Blade 2.
And that is it for Blade Arts and Crafts for today, and hopefully for a long time, because that took a lot longer than I anticipated. Almost about 2.5 hours, of course including a fuel stop as well. I have a newfound level of respect for those that do multiple sets of these, and I can only imagine how long it would take to do an entire squad, especially when the design gets a little bit more complicated. And that will be it for this episode, Yam Squad. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I've had a really great week of just experiencing new things, a new lake, a new regatta. Getting out there on water that I've never been on is just an amazing opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to racing this weekend, especially when I get the opportunity to race people like an Olympic champion. I'm really curious to see the level of the people that will be racing and the level I'm at, and compare the two, so that I can create goals and ideas of where I have to go. But that is for future Yam Squad to look forward to, so make sure you are subscribed for that. And if you did enjoy this video, let me know in the comments below, and hit that like button, always helps. And I will see you in the next episode, which, fingers crossed, will be race time. Oh yeah!